Virginia's political season has taken a dramatic and unexpected turn, sending shockwaves through the state's political landscape. What was shaping up to be a routine campaign has now become the center of statewide and even national attention. At the heart of this unfolding drama is Jay Jones, a well-known Democratic delegate with a reputation for passionate advocacy. Jones, who has been campaigning for the office of Attorney General, was once seen as a rising star in Virginia politics, drawing support from both grassroots activists and party leaders. But the campaign's focus has shifted dramatically. Instead of policy debates and town hall meetings, headlines are now dominated by the leak of old, aggressive text messages Jones sent in 2022. The messages, which surfaced suddenly on social media, have quickly become the talk of the state, overshadowing every other issue in the race. The texts, directed at Republican delegate Carrie Coyner and referencing then-House Speaker Todd Gilbert, are filled with violent and inflammatory language that's shocked both parties. Lawmakers from across the aisle have condemned the tone and content, calling for accountability and raising questions about the standards of political discourse. As the story spreads, social media is ablaze with reactions, and news outlets are dissecting every word. The public is left to wonder how such private communications could have such a profound impact on a public campaign. The controversy has shifted the campaign's focus from policy issues to questions of character, judgment, and fitness for office. Voters are now grappling with whether personal conduct should outweigh political experience and vision. With early voting already underway, the timing of this revelation has thrown the race into chaos. Many Virginians are now reconsidering their choices, and campaign teams are scrambling to respond to the rapidly changing narrative. What began as a private outburst is now a public test of political decency, integrity, and the boundaries of forgiveness in the digital age. The eyes of the state and the nation are watching closely. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: the fallout is just beginning, and Virginia's political future hangs in the balance. So what did Jay Jones actually say? The details of his messages have sent shockwaves through Virginia's political circles, raising questions not just about his judgment, but about the tone of political discourse itself. As the texts began to circulate, many were left stunned by their raw anger and the deeply personal nature of the attacks. The texts surfaced in the aftermath of the death of a moderate Democrat, a moment when many expected unity and respect. Instead, Jones's words revealed a fury at what he saw as betrayal within his own party, and a willingness to lash out at both allies and opponents. The timing could not have been worse, as the Capitol was already shrouded in grief and uncertainty. In a message to fellow lawmaker Carrie Coyner, Jones wrote that he would piss on the graves of certain Republicans if they died. The language was not just shocking, it was graphic, visceral, and impossible to ignore. For many, it crossed a line that even the most heated political rhetoric rarely approaches, conjuring an image that was both disrespectful and deeply unsettling. But Jones didn't stop there. He also targeted Speaker Gilbert's family, referring to his children as little fascists. By dragging the Speaker's family into the feud, Jones escalated the conflict from political disagreement to personal attack, a move that many saw as crossing yet another line of decency. These weren't just political jabs, they were deeply personal and dehumanizing attacks that left colleagues and constituents alike reeling. The texts seemed to abandon any pretense of civility, instead laying bare a level of animosity that shocked even seasoned observers of state politics. The timing, coming during a period of mourning and reflection, made the outburst even more jarring. At a time when the community was seeking comfort and unity, Jones's words stood out as a stark contrast, amplifying the sense of division and pain. For many, these texts reveal a side of Jones marked by intense rage, impulsivity, and a lack of restraint. Political analysts and voters alike are now questioning whether this was a momentary lapse in judgment or a glimpse into a deeper pattern of behavior. The public is left to wonder, was this a one-time outburst, or does it reflect something more troubling about Jones's temperament? Conversations in coffee shops, living rooms, and online forums have turned to the question of character, and whether such anger has a place in public office. The line between political rivalry and personal animosity was not just blurred, it was clearly crossed. The fallout has deepened existing divisions, with some defending Jones's passion, while others condemn his lack of decorum. Now, as voters prepare to head to the polls, they're left to weigh not just policy positions, but the very character of the candidates. The question lingers, Does J. Jones have the temperament and judgment required for the office he seeks, or have these texts revealed a side of him that's simply too volatile for public trust? The texts didn't stop at insults. What began as a heated exchange quickly spiraled into something far more sinister. The tone shifted from mere political banter to a chilling hypothetical that would soon send shockwaves through the political community. As the messages continued, they escalated into a disturbing scenario that no one could have anticipated. The conversation, once rooted in policy disagreements, took a dark and unexpected turn, leaving those involved deeply unsettled. In a moment that would later be recounted with disbelief, Jones asked Coyner a question that seemed ripped from a nightmare. If you had 2 bullets and 3 people, Hitler, Pol Pot, and Todd Gilbert, who gets shot? The gravity of the question was not lost on anyone who heard about it. Coyner, stunned, listened as Jones delivered his answer. Gilbert gets both bullets. The implication was clear, and the message was deeply unsettling. What was meant as a hypothetical revealed a level of animosity that crossed every line of decency. This wasn't just dark humor. It was a vivid, violent fantasy targeting a political rival. The words carried a weight that could not be dismissed as a joke or a momentary lapse in judgment. They exposed a raw, personal hostility that shocked even seasoned political observers. The conversation reportedly continued, growing even more disturbing. Jones went on to wish that Gilbert's wife would experience the pain of losing a child to gun violence, a statement so cruel that Coyner could no longer continue the call. Appalled and shaken, she hung up, unable to process the level of malice she had just witnessed. This comment, wishing tragedy on a family, became the most condemned part of the scandal. It was not just a political misstep. It was a deeply personal attack that reverberated far beyond the world of politics, drawing outrage from colleagues, the media, and the public alike. It crossed from political rhetoric into unimaginable cruelty, shattering any remaining boundaries of acceptable discourse. The incident forced many to confront the toxic undercurrents that can exist beneath the surface of political rivalries. The fallout has left a lasting stain on Jones's campaign. Supporters distanced themselves, opponents seized the moment, and the public's trust was shaken. The scandal became a defining moment, overshadowing policy debates and campaign promises. Now, the public is left grappling with the implications of such extreme animosity in politics. Many are asking, how did we get here, and what does it mean for the future of civil discourse? The echoes of this grim hypothetical continue to haunt the political landscape, serving as a stark warning of how far things can go when lines are crossed. Outrage was swift. Republicans called the texts disturbing and disqualifying, demanding accountability. They argued Jones's words revealed a lack of moral character and emotional stability. But the backlash wasn't just partisan. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Abigail Spanberger publicly condemned Jones, saying she was disgusted by his rhetoric. Her rebuke signaled the party couldn't ignore the controversy. This rare bipartisan condemnation gave the scandal staying power. When both sides agree a line's been crossed, the outrage is harder to dismiss. Spanberger's stance created friction within her party, but showed some standards still transcend politics. The controversy has become a defining issue, overshadowing policy debates. Virginia voters are now forced to confront the boundaries of acceptable political discourse. Facing mounting pressure, J. Jones responded with a mix of apology and deflection. He admitted regret for the texts, calling them a mistake, and insisted violent rhetoric has no place in politics. But he quickly pivoted, accusing his opponent and Trump-controlled media of orchestrating a smear campaign. Jones tried to reframe the race as a battle for Virginia's soul, invoking Trump to rally his base. His strategy shifted focus from his words to the tactics of his opponents. The dual approach, contrition and combativeness, left voters divided. Is this a genuine apology or just political maneuvering? The controversy remains front and center, shaping the entire campaign. Timing is everything. These texts, sent in 2022, surfaced just as early voting began in 2025. Thousands had already voted before the scandal broke, raising questions about fairness and transparency. The leak was clearly timed for maximum impact, upending a high-stakes race for Attorney General. The office is powerful, overseeing law enforcement and public safety statewide. Jones faces incumbent Jason Miyares in a contest already expected to be close. The scandal has shifted the focus from policy to character. The fact that the target was a high-ranking official only heightens the seriousness. Civility at the top levels of government is now under scrutiny. The texts aren't Jones's only controversy. In 2022, he was convicted of reckless driving, caught at 116 mph, and allowed to serve half his community service through his own PAC. Critics say this looked more like a political favor than real punishment. Republicans also attack his lack of prosecutorial experience, calling him unqualified and soft on crime. These incidents, combined with the texts, paint a picture of questionable judgment. Supporters see them as isolated mistakes. Opponents call it a pattern. For undecided voters, the accumulation of missteps is hard to ignore. The question: are these forgivable errors or signs of deeper flaws? The J. Jones affair is a stark reminder. Words in politics matter. Violent rhetoric isn't just tough talk, it corrodes democracy and normalizes aggression. When politicians joke about violence, it blurs the line between debate and incitement. This climate discourages good people from public service and puts officials at risk. Democracy depends on fierce disagreement without dehumanization. The danger is abandoning respect for opponents, seeing them as enemies to destroy. The Jones controversy is a warning of how easily we can slide into dangerous territory. The scandal forces us to ask, how do we restore civility in politics? It starts with demanding better from leaders, on both sides. Courage to call out misconduct, even within one's own party, is essential. Voters must reward decency and hold all candidates to high standards. On a personal level, we must think before we speak or text in anger. Respectful disagreement is the foundation of democracy. The J. Jones controversy is a wake-up call. The choice is ours: return to angry politics or demand something better for our future.